Hi boys and girls! So it is time for our little mini math lesson. It is not going to be a long lesson, just a little bit of a review of some things that we've already talked about and learned. And what we're going to be doing today is fractions with food. So we've already done fractions with paper brownies, which was very exciting. Now we're going to do fractions with real brownies. Now I tried to cut them pretty equally, but as we talked about, we're human beings, not machines, so doing things perfectly is not always accurate. These are also really fudgy brownies, and it's very hard to cut them nicely and perfectly. But we're going to go with it. So the first kind of fraction that I'm going to talk about is half. So I have this brownie here. Lovely, lovely little brownie. And let's say I wanted to share it with someone. Say I wanted to share it with Mr. Fasig. So I would cut it in how many pieces? 2 pieces, right? So if I took one, what fraction of the brownie am I going to take? I'm going to take one of the 2 pieces, which is 1/2. Remember, the denominator is the bottom number, and that is the number that is how many pieces we've cut the brownie into, and the numerator is the top number, how many pieces did I take. So I took 1/2. Now, let's say that I wanted to share with some more people too. So I decided instead I'm going to cut the brownie into 4 pieces. What would my fraction be here for each of these pieces? Well, let's see. How many pieces do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 pieces. So what would my denominator be? It would be 4. And if I took one and ate it, what would that be? This would be 1/4. So we would each get 1/4. So now I have a question for you. If I have a half, 1/2 of a brownie, I'm going to take another brownie and cut it. There's my half of brownie. And here's my 1/4 of a brownie. So I'm going to put them on the plate and show you. Which one is bigger? My 1/2 or my 1/4? The 1/2 is bigger, right? Because that means that I'm cutting this brownie into only 2 pieces. So I'm going to share it with one other person. But if I cut this into 4 pieces, I'm going to share it with 3 other people. And that's a lot of people to eat this one little brownie, right? So these are going to be tinier pieces. So that means what we just figured out was that 1/2, is it bigger or smaller than 1/4? It is bigger than 1/4. So that's what I just figured out. Now, how many 4ths would it take for me to fill up this half? So for me to find an equivalent fraction. Now you might already know this because we've talked about this. Remember, if you have any double numbers where the top doubles itself to equal the bottom, then that equals 1/2. However, if you don't remember, let's try to figure it out together. So I have this half a brownie. I have 1/4 here. How many more 4ths do you think I need to make 1/2? Let's try 1. Does that work? Does it make a complete brownie for the most part? Yes, it does. So how many 4ths equal 1/2? How many 4ths do I have here? I have 2/4, which means, guess what we just found out? We found out that 1/2 is equal to 2/4. So remember, that's an equivalent fraction. That means that they're the same. So if I were to give you 2/4, that's the same as giving you 1/2 of a brownie. Okay, so now let's look. What if I would do 3/4? So is 3/4 going to be smaller or larger than 1/2? What do you think? So I have my 1/2 here. I have 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. Is that piece bigger or smaller than this one? Sorry, it's sliding. it's bigger. So we know that 3/4 is bigger than 1/2, which makes sense because if 2 of the 4 pieces is equal to 1/2, and I have a whole nother piece, because 3 is bigger than 2 with our numerator, then I know it has to be bigger than my 1/2. So that means that if I were to put this on a number line, if I were to put those numbers, those fractions, on a number line, it would look something like this. Where does my 1/2 go on the number line? It goes right in the middle. What other fraction goes here? We just talked about it. How many of my fourths are going to go there? Do you remember? 2 of my fourths. 2 of my fourths equal 1/2. Now, we just determined 3/4 is that bigger or smaller? It's bigger. 1/4, one of these little pieces, is that bigger or smaller than my 1/2? Put it here. It's smaller. So 1/4 is going to go right here. So we just did our number line. And I know that we already learned this. It's a little bit of review. However, it never hurts to review some things, especially not with delicious fudgy brownies. So that is one way that you can do fractions with food. So if you have brownies or cookies or pizza or pretty much any food, you can cut it into pieces and do that with it. You can see which fraction is bigger or smaller. There's also another way that you can do fractions with food and practice this concept. So if you have little pieces of food, and you can also do this with non-food objects. You can do it with toys or buttons or hair clips or pretty much anything that you would have a bunch of. You need several of them. So if I just grab randomly and I take 4 Skittles here. I have 4 Skittles. Now, what colors do I have? I have red, I have green, and I have orange. So how many do I have? I have 4. So what is my denominator, my bottom number going to be? How many pieces do I have? I have 4 pieces of candy, correct? I have 4 pieces. So that means that my denominator is going to be 4. Now, how many of those 4 pieces is green? How many is green? How many are green? Sorry. So I have this one, that's red. I have red. I have orange. And I have green. How many greens do we have? We have 1 green, which means 1 out of the 4 pieces is green. How many do we have for orange? I have my 1 green, orange, red, red. How many is orange? 1 is orange. That's another 1/4. Now, how many do I have that are red? I have 2 reds. How many fourths? How many out of the 4 pieces are red? 2 of them are red. Which means that I have 1/4 green, 1/4 orange, 2/4 red. Now, what did I say? What did we say? What is 2/4 equal to? 2/4 is equal to something else. Let's look at our brownies again to remember. So I have 1/2 here. I have a 1/4. I have another 1/4. How many fourths do I have here? I have 2, which is also equal to 1/2. Very good, which means 1/2 of my Skittles are red. So you could do that with a bunch of different color Skittles. I could do it again. I could say, okay, let me pick up 4 more Skittles. All right. I have 2 purple, 1 red, 1 yellow. 1/4 is yellow, 1/4 is red, 2/4 or 1/2 are purple. I could do it again. This time I picked up all orange. So I could say that 4 out of the 4 pieces, all 4 of them are orange, which means that all of them are orange. So you can do fractions with pretty much any objects in your house that you have a lot of. And you can do it with candy, you can do it with toys. Like I said, just ask your parents if they have like a jar of buttons or even pennies, something like that lying around that you can just kind of grab and do this with. You could say, okay, if you're looking at pennies, you could say how many of them, you could go by dates, or you could go by I would say dates is probably easiest. So you could say, okay, how many of these pennies was made in 2010? And then you could look and see one of them is made in 2010. How many is made in 2019? 2 of them are made in 2019. So you can do this with a lot of different things that you just have lying around at home. I am curious to see what you choose to do fractions with. So my challenge to you today is to get some objects, whether it be food, or candy or toys that you have lying around, and I encourage you to come up with something like this. So if you're doing Skittles, this is how many. If you're doing pennies, you could say 1/4 of the penny was made in 2010, 1/4 of the pennies were made in 2020, and 2/4 of them were made in 2008. So you can do that with that. So that is my challenge for you. My challenge is that you come up with something like this. Now, it would also be fun if you did a video with it. You could show me what you're doing with the Skittles or with the brownies or with whatever you're doing them with. Or you could just send it to me through Google Classroom. So that is my challenge for you today. The last thing that we're going to do is we are also going to do a little bit of addition. So yesterday we solved using the break apart method, and some of you sent me your problems and you got them correct. You did an excellent job, which is awesome. The other way that we're going to practice doing, one of the other strategies we're going to practice doing addition is with a number line, because this is a way that many of you do solve addition using the number line, and it is an excellent strategy. So if I have 362 plus 411. So obviously, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with my lower number, which is 362. Now, I might already know what 300 plus 400 is, so that's what I'm going to do. If you don't, you can split that up by hundreds. 362 plus 100, 300, whatever, 462 plus 100, and keep going, because I know what 362 plus 400 is, then I'm going to just do it that way. But you can break it apart even smaller if you need to. So I know I'm jumping 400, 362 plus 400, I know, is 762. Now I'm not done. I need to jump 11 more. I'm going to split that up by going 10. So 762 plus 10 is 772. And then I still have to go my 1, which is 773. So that is how you can use a number line to help you. Let's do one more problem together, and then I will post a couple of problems for you on Google Classroom as well. $816 plus 204 equals something. So 816, and I'm going to add my 200. So 816 plus 200 is 1016. Then I still have my 4. 1016 plus 4 is 1020. I made it there. Okay, I'm going to post one for you to do. So I'm going to wait a minute and let you try to solve it, and then I'll solve it for you. So here's your challenge. All right, here's your problem. So go ahead, grab a piece of paper or a whiteboard or whatever you may need, whatever writing utensil you have, and go ahead and solve it with a number line. And I'll give you 1 minute to do that. Okay, so it's been about a minute. If you're not done, that's okay. Pause the video and then you can finish the problem and then come back to me talking. So we would start by drawing our number line. We would start with 596 plus 400, going to be 996. 996 plus 80. Now, that's a little bit trickier. If you need to break it up, you can, or you can just kind of think yourself through it. So I know that 996 plus 10 is going to be 1006. Then I still have 70 left, so it's going to be 1076. And then I need to add my 3, which is 1079. Sorry, it's a little squished on this board. So that should be your answer. All right, I'm going to post your 3 problems for you to try to work on this way. There are your 3 problems. So we have 172 plus 499, 810 plus 73, and 419 plus 360. So those are your challenge problems that I encourage you to do. Obviously for these, you can solve them with the break apart method or a different method, but I am challenging you to try to solve them using the number line since that's the strategy we just reviewed. So this is your challenge. So make sure you write these down. I will also put them on Google Classroom. If you didn't get a chance to write them down, I will put them there. I would love if you would send me the answer. As always, you can send me a video or picture of you solving the problems as well. I hope you enjoyed our food fraction review, and I will see you tomorrow for our weekend read aloud. Have a wonderful night, boys and girls.